Hello and welcome back to NHB Retro. Today I'm going to wrap up a video that I've had in various stages of production for quite some time now. And it's about this computer right here, which I'll get to more about it in a moment. It's a Vector-06C, possibly the Vector-06C 2. And my uncertainty there stems from the fact that at the beginning of this project I had almost no documentation about this computer, and so I was sort of going at it blind. And about halfway through the process, after I had figured out the power supply, I found a bunch of documentation, and I'm going to be pulling all that documentation together. It's all available in various places, but I'll pull it all together in one place, convert it all to PDFs and that sort of thing. And I'll put a link in the description to archive where I upload this information. If you need it and you're interested in it, it will be there. Anyway, all that to say, about halfway through this video, yeah, I figure some more stuff out. So with that said, let's get into the original video. Hello and welcome back to NHB Retro. Got a pretty interesting little machine here on the bench today. This is a Soviet era personal computer. I believe this particular one, we'll take a look at the chips in a bit, but I believe this particular one was put together probably in '91, which would make it right at the very end of the Soviet Union. But they made the whole series of these from the late '80s on. And this is a Vector-06, and I believe this is a 2, the second model, which brings up kind of an interesting point, and that is that all the lettering, of course, is in Cyrillic. I'm not, well versed in Cyrillic. I don't speak Russian, so I'll be using transliterations into English of what all the various words are when I can. So yeah, bear with me on that, and certainly if I make a mistake, feel free to comment and let me know. I'd also like to say that I haven't had a lot of luck finding much actual documentation on this machine, and again, I think that's because of the Cyrillic. It's difficult to search the internet if you're transliterating the words into English. I believe there's probably documentation out there. I just haven't been able to find it. And again, if you know of a good link for that, please let me know. It would be very useful, especially since I don't have a power supply or a video cable or anything like that for this machine. But yeah, let's take a look at it. So it's a pretty compact little machine, kind of the form factor of a lot of Western computers in the day, the Commodore 64 and whatever else. It has a fairly full keyboard. The keyboard's going to be an issue once I am able to get this powered up. Some of the keys are a little bit sticky. Might have to do some work there to get that all working. Let's see, around on the back here, got a number of ports, and again, Cyrillic labeling. This is certainly the power port here. We have a CTV, which I believe is composite television. There's an RGB output. I'm not sure what these are. And again, we have some larger sort of bus connectors over here that I'm sure are for all kinds of expansions, which I will never set my hands on. So, but again, if you can translate those, that'd be cool. Yeah, so my goal for the day, as I mentioned, I don't have the power supply for this machine. My goal for the day is to kind of try to reverse engineer that a little bit, if you will, just to kind of, and in a very simplistic way, because I'm not super well versed in that process either. But my goal is to kind of do some exploring and then figure out what the power supply, what the power inputs are, what all the pins are, because as you can see, it uses, hopefully you can see, it uses a standard DIN 7 plug there, which is handy for the RGB as well. That's also a DIN 7. Sorry for the lighting. But yeah, my goal is to figure out the power supply needs and then try to hook it up to a power supply, external power supply, and at least get the, power lights to come on. I don't know what else to expect out of it. There is a speaker in here, but having run emulation of this machine and booted, I don't believe it makes a beep or anything like that when it boots, which is unfortunate because that would be kind of cool. But yeah, let's get on with looking at the power. My goal, if I can get it to power up and not explode, my goal would be to then try to figure out the video. But yeah, let's take the top off. Let's take a quick look inside and go from there. Okay, here's the machine with the lid off. We can see right away that on the keyboard there is what appears to be a date. It looks like 0491 if I'm reading that correctly. That pretty much matches with the chip dates that I'm seeing. The latest ones seem to be in the early 91 time frame. But yeah, it's interesting. Let's see. The first thing you'll notice is that the circuit boards don't have solder masks, which in most Western electronics, that's kind of a thing that you'd see from machines in the 70s, etc. But here we are in the 90s with this machine. Anyway, it looks to be in really good shape. It's very clean. I don't see any evidence of burning or anything like that. We do have a speaker here. Again, this is the power connector up here. Then we have some, let's see, video, and these ports, I don't really understand them yet. Oh, this is interesting. There's a little jumper plugged in here, which I think this corresponds to the composite, what I thought was probably the composite TV output. Yeah, that's interesting. This may be the simplest way to get video out of here eventually, though it would be obviously the Soviet standard. From what I understand, it's an interlaced 25 megahertz per field sort of a signal. Maybe I could get that to show up on one of my various converters. Maybe not. We'll give it a shot. But yeah, there it is. The CPU, which is this chip over here, and I'll try to pop up some closer high-res pictures of these. It's a Soviet-era clone of the 8080. Apparently just pin compatible and everything. So that's actually going to be the route that we take to try to figure out what power needs to come in here. I'm sort of assuming that the external power supply was putting out, the direct power DC that the chip's going to need, and the chip, assuming that it's exactly the same as the 8080, which it seems to be, needs -5, +5, +12. So kind of normal stuff. But yeah, there it is. All the various chips here and here are also clones of various Intel-related chips. There's a what I assume is a ROM here that has DOS written on it, and some more Cyrillic. So yeah, let's look a little bit more closely at the power connector and look at how I plan to figure out the inputs on that. And here's my setup for figuring out the power connections. I've got my multimeter set up. Obviously, it's going to be continuity mode. I've got a 7-pin DIN cable plugged into the power socket. I've got the other end of that cable stripped and the conductors all separated. And then off to this side here, I've got a senior citizen sized diagram of the 8080, and I'll just be going through looking for continuity between each pin on the power supply and the known power pins on the 8080. So let's get that started. So first up, we have the green pin, and I'm trying to kind of work around the camera here, so apologies. Okay, green. And we're just going to go through the pins on the CPU here. Okay, so nothing on the green pin. I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be any sort of mystery conductors. Okay, let's go on to the yellow pin. Okay. Okay, so that pin, according to my cheat sheet here, that should be plus 12. So I'm going to write that down. And I'm just going to go through these conductors one at a time. Same thing. I'll fast forward through it a little bit here, but let's just go on to the gray one. Do the same thing. First check ground. Okay, gray one also apparently not connected. Red. Okay, red also not connected. White. All right. All right, so that would be plus 5 volts. And we'll go on to blue. Okay, that is minus 5 volts. Now, black. Gotta try to not allow these to short. There we go. Black. Black is ground. And brown. Brown is also ground. Okay, let's just double check the ones that I didn't find a connection on. So green was one. Probably obscuring the camera there. Okay, green doesn't seem to be connected. Gray doesn't seem to be connected. Oh, gray is ground. Okay, why didn't I find that before? Yes, gray is ground. Glad I double checked. Let's go back to red. Red is plus 5, it would appear. Just going to double check that white is also plus 5. It is. Blue. Okay, other than green, that sort of covers it. So, yeah, basically, very much lines up with the 8080 pinout and the power that that I expected on those expected pins. The only one that doesn't seem to be connected is green. I'm just going to double check that one again, or triple check it, I guess. Yep. Green is -5. Okay, I must have just glossed over that one. Good, so there are no pins that appear to be unconnected. I'm just going to double check all this and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, I've got the computer wired up to probably the least appropriate power supply in the world for this, but it does have all the correct voltages. I've made a cable here. I put a fuse in line on the +5 volt rail. I mean, this power supply, the amps on it are way too high, especially on the +5 rail. So I do have a 2 amp fuse in there. So hopefully if we are drawing a bunch of 5 volts, that'll blow before it cooks anything. And I think we're ready to try power cycling this. Let's see, one of these is the power LED. I believe it's this one. So, yeah, I think the only output that we're going to get from this, if it powers up, is the LED coming on. I don't think it makes a beep or anything like that. I have the switch for this power supply comically far away. I'm going to go walk over there. Hopefully you can still hear me. Okay, let's flip the switch, fingers crossed, and see if that LED lights. Oh, okay. Okay, so it this one did light up. I saw this one flash when we first powered it up. Well, this keyboard is really janky. I think there's a stuck key here, in fact. Need to look at that eventually. Okay, so yeah, I guess this probably means we're getting power to everything. Let me unravel this a little bit, move the keyboard out of the way, and we'll just check the voltages on the chip itself. Okay, I've got the board sort of rearranged so we can get at the CPU more directly. Apologies for the lighting if it looks a little weird in here. The board is currently powered up. I have I have the multimeter here set for volts DC. Let's just go ahead and check some of the voltages. Apologies if my hand gets in the way here. Okay, that should be 5. It is 5. That's nice. Let's see. 12 is over here somewhere. Okay, that should be 12 volts DC. It's pretty high. That's 13.6, but I think that's just the power supply is overdoing it a bit. And then -5, I believe, is over here. -5. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else here. Okay. Well, short of having an oscilloscope hooked up, it looks like the board powers up. It looks like none of these are... Oh. It's actually warm. I mean, it's not hot at all, but it's warm. So is that. So is the ROM here. Yeah, okay, so right now everything says this is running. Okay, so yeah, let me back up a little bit and we'll see what we think the next steps are. The power apparently figured out. It's time to move on to seeing if we can get any video out of this machine. Now, luckily for me, this is after I discovered the documentation. Now, unluckily for me, this documentation is all in Russian, which, yeah, I don't speak, and some of it, even given the quality, I'm not getting very good translations of, I guess you would say, the machine translations. I'm sure a native speaker could rip right through this. But in any case, we have here the RGB connector, pinouts, and according to my translations of these, pin 1 is going to be sound. That's kind of cool. Pin 2 is video, which I'm assuming is the composite video source. And we have some RGB. I don't know what this last one is, but I'm assuming it's some sort of sync for the RGB. And then this very last one, pin 7, is a common, or I'm assuming that's ground. So what I'm going to do is hokey up a little video cable that just takes the video and the ground and put them into a composite signal. Incidentally, I did try making various cables for the RGB and trying that through my RGB to HDMI device. I'm not super familiar with exactly which signals need to go where on that. I made my best guesses. I didn't get anywhere with that. I'm sure it could be done. I imagine it could be done. But anyway, for now, let's just go simple. Let's try to get the composite video and the common hooked up, and let's see if we can get any video out of this. All right, with the help of the documentation, I've now got the video output working, at least the composite video output, and it does seem to be a little bit non-standard. The only monitor I have, the composite monitor that I've been able to get it to work with so far, is ironically this monitor 3, this Apple monitor. This computer does have RGB out. I wasn't able to sort of, in a simple-minded way, kind of get that to work with any of the solutions that I have, but it's probably very possible to get this working with like an RGB to HDMI or something like that. That being said, let me go ahead. I've got the computer turned on. It's plugged into the monitor, and let's just see what we get. And we get nothing. That's not what I was going for. Okay, I have a slight problem with my video cable there. But yeah, as you can see, it's decoding the video and it's showing up. It's obviously a little bit unstable. I think the refresh rate is probably non-standard. It's probably why it only works with this Apple monitor for me. Every other computer monitor that I've tried it on, it just rolls. So let me take you off this tripod here, get you in for a slightly closer look. Sorry for the probably flashing and other stuff that's going on there. Again, this just has to do with the refresh rate and all that. Yeah, so there it is. Unfortunately, I think that's about all I can really do with this computer right now. I have not come up with a way to decode to hook up the tape input to actually be able to load any software. And even if I did, I don't have any tapes of any software. I can download stuff from the internet, but I'm not really sure how to convert that into an actual audio source for this. If you know a way to do that, yeah, let me know in the comment. I'd be really interested in getting it just that one step further. But yeah, there it is. All in all, I'm fairly surprised that this actually got working. Sorry for the shadow there. To the extent that it is. Pretty neat, though. Pretty gratifying project. Again, if you need the information, the documentation that I've been able to find so far, there's a link in the comment, in the description rather, so that you can find the stuff that I found, maybe a little bit easier than the path that I took. Anyway, hope you enjoy this look at this kind of unique, at least over here in America, in the US, computer. Pretty unusual and pretty cool that it just kind of worked. Kind of a neat piece of Soviet era history, I think. Yeah, and anyway, hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you on the next one.